Hi, welcome to Torah Cafe's Business Bytes for the Corporate Soul. Last time we spoke about life-work balance and looked at the interplay between Shabbat and the week, how we serve God through working and we serve Him through resting, and it can't be one or the other. We need both of those. What I thought we'd look at today is a balance that needs to be present in our actual work, not when we're resting, but at the time that we're working. What's the right balance or the way to approach making an effort and trying to earn a living when we have this notion, as we spoke about right at the beginning, that bread, dough, what we earn is like manna from heaven. It's coming to us from above. There's a very wonderful story that is told about a tzaddik, a righteous individual, and he used to begin his day, he would pray, and when he was ready to eat, he would sit at the table and say, God, please give me my food. And he had an assistant who served him and took care of his needs, and the assistant would be on the side preparing breakfast, in the kitchen, and he would bring it in to the rabbi at the table. And every day he heard this rabbi praying and asking, God, please give me what I need, and then he would be the one that had worked on it and came down and put it in front of the rabbi on the table. And he thought to himself one day, you know what, I want to teach him a lesson. It's not God who's providing him with what he needs. I'm the one who's providing him with what he needs. And so he took upon himself that the following day he would not be there to provide breakfast. He'd be there to observe, but he wouldn't be coming with the actual breakfast. The rabbi was obviously not aware of this. On his way to shul in the morning, he was walking along the street, and I guess in those days the streets were not tarred. There was mud. A lot of rain had fallen. There was mud on the road, and there would be planks. So generally a person of greater importance is the one that would stay on the plank, and the person who was of lesser importance would walk down into the mud. The rabbi was walking along, and there was a Jew coming from the other direction. He was a very wealthy person, and he didn't recognize this great tzaddik, and he just, made a motion, whatever it was, either pushing him off or just stubbornly standing where he was. And the rabbi stepped off into the mud, and this man walked past, and the rabbi got back on, and they both continued in their directions. Someone saw this Jew and came over to him. He said, do you know what you did? What's going on over here? Do you know who that rabbi is? He's such and such a tzaddik. I think it was Reb Zusha Vanipoli. How could you do such a thing to him? How could you push him off the plank? He said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize who it was. I must make amends. And he went, he said, I'm going to give him the greatest meal he's ever had, the most wonderful breakfast. And he goes out, and either he bought or he had prepared different things, and he had it delivered on a silver platter. Now the rabbi's finished his prayers. He comes to sit down at the table, and he says, God, please provide me with my sustenance. His assistant is standing, hovering on the side at the door, watching. Now we'll see what's going to happen, right? I'll teach him a lesson. And at that moment, in walks this wealthy man with a tray laden with delicacies and delicious food like he's never prepared in his life. The rabbi thanked him very much. He told him it wasn't necessary, but he took the gift and he ate his food. Now when we hear that story, we might be inspired and say, look at this wonderful faith that this individual has, and look at how God provided for him. But maybe there are some of us who are irritated by the story. It doesn't sound right to me. What's he doing? He should be making an effort to earn his own living. Give acknowledgement, gratitude, at least wasn't his assistant, wasn't this person actually preparing and cooking the food? There is a balance in the way that we have to work, and both dynamics are true. What I have comes from God, comes from my Creator, and I have to put effort into what I'm doing. So on the one hand, we have a verse in Psalms that says, thrust your burden out to God, and He will sustain you. God is the one who yechalkaleka. He's the one who is going to sustain you. So at some level, it's very liberating to say, you know what, this is not my problem, it's God's problem, and He takes care of all of the grasses all over the ocean and all over the world, and the trees and the fish in the ocean and the animals. He can take care of me too. On the other hand, we are taught that God tells us, I will bless you in all that you do, that you have to do something in order to have the blessing. How do these two things go together? On the one hand, surrender, unload your burden to God, and he will sustain you. And on the other hand, God will bless you in all that you do. So if we look at the second verse, we are being taught, God will bless me. The blessing and the sustenance comes from him, but it is dependent upon my making a vessel for it. What that means is as follows. It's not my work that brings me my living. The work is merely the vessel that contains the blessing of sustenance that I receive. As God says, I will bless you in all that you do. So the work is not drawing in the cash. The work is making a beautiful vessel so that God has a place to put that blessing into. However, at a mystical level, if we go back, or let's say a deeper level, if we go back to our original verse, which says as follows, send your burden, give it up, surrender it to God, and he will sustain you. We can understand this in a different way. V'hu yichalkaleka could mean one of two things. At the most basic level, it's God is going to give you everything that you need. At another level, it's saying as follows, he makes your kli, your vessel, even deeper. That means as follows. Yes, I have to put in effort, and God is going to fill that effort with blessing of sustenance and abundance, please God. However, I also have to know that my very ability to make the vessel comes from God as well. So if a person has an ability to paint, or is very gifted in terms of social skills and interpersonal relationships, is a great speaker, a great mind, a great thinker, mathematical abilities, where did that come from? That's that stepping back of saying, I have the humility. I understand that this is manna from heaven, and even my ability to bring in, to create a vessel, to hold that manna, that's coming from my Creator as well. So at some level, when we step out to work, we want to be aware it's not only that I need to be working for 6 days and resting on one day, but at every step of the way, I am walking this tightrope and this balance of saying, I must invest my effort to the utmost of my ability, and at the same time, I know that I am being blessed from God above. If I can just connect this to one other idea. You know, I once saw a talk where the Rebbe spoke, and he said, it's a letter where the Rebbe addressed a person, and he said, you asked me what you can do to propagate peace in the Holy Land. And he answered, and he said, the greatest thing that you can do is to bring about peace between your body and soul, or between your godly soul and animal soul. What I'm trying to say over here is that many times we accomplish what we need to in ways that are kind of tangential. Someone would think, oh, if I want to bring peace, it's going to be by lobbying and, you know, becoming an activist. And I'm not saying there's a problem with that at all. We should be as active as we can, and I think, you know, activism on the part of Gilad Shalit has helped. Please God, we should see the results in that respect. So there's this kind of active lobbying, and then there's another way of bringing something about. And I think the same is true when it comes to earning a living. I have to know there's my effort. There's what I'm physically doing. I have to wake up in the morning. I have to be disciplined, you know, not read through my 30 emails before I'm actually getting something done for today, etc. And it takes discipline and effort to not do what's comfortable and do what is maybe the more difficult thing to do. At the same time, just as we spoke a while back about the idea that I have to have the concept of Bereshit, the origin, my point of departure is connected to my ultimate outcome. So too every day as I begin my work, I mustn't think to myself that it's just dependent on my effort and putting my best foot forward. Putting my best foot forward also means I remember that it is God who's given me the ability to put my foot forward in whichever way that it is. And He is the one who decides whether the vessel that He's helping me create is going to be filled. Until next time, have an abundant day.